The metallic tang of my own blood hitting the floor was the only sound in the room, a rhythmic tap-tap-tap against the hardwood that felt like a countdown to the end of my life as I knew it. My vision blurred, tunneling down to the crimson droplets soaking into the beige rug, the one I'd worked 3 jobs to buy. My mother's wedding ring had jaggedly sliced my cheek, leaving a burning trail of heat, while my father's thick fingers crushed my arm, pinning me against the very bookshelf where my skull had just cracked against the wood. Ungrateful, selfish brat, my mother spat, her face contorted into a mask of pure venom as she reached for her designer purse. You think you're better than us? You think you can just say no to your own blood? Behind her the world stopped. My 8-year-old daughter Lily stood frozen in the doorway. Her small hands were shaking, her eyes wide with a horror no child should ever see. She was witnessing the monster I had spent a decade trying to hide from her. "Mommy," she shrieked, lunging toward me, but my mother stepped into her path like a wall of ice. "Stay out of this, brat," she snapped at my child. "Maybe if your mother learned her place like your Aunt Brooke does, she wouldn't need to be disciplined. My name is Sophia Bennett. I'm 34, a single mother, and for years I was the family doormat." But as I felt the warm blood trickling down my temple and saw the terror in my daughter's eyes, something inside me didn't just break. It sharpened into a blade. The nightmare had started 2 hours earlier with a single, entitled text, "Rent is due. Help your sister out. We raised you better than this." I had ignored it. I was done. Lily's emergency dental surgery had wiped out my savings, and I refused to bankroll my 28-year-old sister Brooke's refusal to hold a job for more than a week. So they showed up at my duplex. No knock, just a violent pounding that sounded like a raid. "Why aren't you answering?" my mother demanded the moment I opened the door. My father stood behind her, wearing that smug, patriarchal grin he used right before he tried to crush my spirit. "I can't pay Brooke's rent," I said, my voice remarkably steady. "Lily had surgery. My daughter's health comes before Brooke's lifestyle." "Oh, so your kid's teeth are more important than your sister having a roof?" my father sneered, shoving his way into my home uninvited. "She has a job, Dad. She chooses not to go." "That's not my emergency," I replied. That was the spark. The room exploded. My mother threw her heavy purse across the room, screaming about my arrogance. Then came the slap, sharp, blinding, and fueled by years of resentment. My father grabbed me, throwing me back so hard my head bounced off the oak shelving. Now they were sitting on my couch like they owned the place while I bled and my daughter wept in the corner. "We'll leave when the transfer hits," my father barked, crossing his legs. "Until then, we're staying right here to make sure you don't waste another cent of family money on yourself." I looked at Lily. Her face was a mask of grief and confusion. The woman I used to be would have cried. The woman I was now simply went cold. "Get out," I whispered. My mother let out a jagged, mocking laugh. "Or what? You'll call the cops on your own parents? You're too pathetic for that, Sophia." I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I walked to Lily, took her trembling hand and led her into my bedroom, locking the door behind us. That night as we lay in the dark, Lily whispered, "Mommy, why do Grandma and Grandpa hate you?" I didn't have an answer for her then. But as I stared at the ceiling, the dots finally connected. The favoritism, the endless financial drains, the emotional bruising that had finally turned physical. I realized I had been funding my own executioners. The next morning, light filtered through the blinds as I heard them in my kitchen, eating my food and arguing about which of Brooke's bills I should cover next. I dressed Lily in her favorite blue dress and used heavy concealer and sunglasses to hide the purple bruise blooming along my hairline. "We're going to be okay, baby," I promised her. She nodded, trusting me with a gravity that broke my heart. We slipped out the back door while they were distracted. I dropped Lily at school, but I didn't go to my IT job. I went to the courthouse. By noon, I had a fresh medical report and an emergency restraining order. "They attacked me in front of my child because I wouldn't pay their other daughter's bills," I told the officer. He didn't even hesitate. But the restraining order was just the beginning. For 2 years, I had been living like a pauper despite my high-paying security gig. My parents thought I was struggling. They didn't know I was investing. Specifically, I had used an LLC to buy a certain property out of foreclosure. A house I knew very well. My childhood home. The house my parents were currently renting from a management company. I called the property manager. "Are they behind again?" 3 months, Sophia. We were about to file. "Don't," I said, a cold smile touching my lips. I'll handle the eviction personally. I blocked every number they used to harass me. They didn't know a certified letter was already en route. They didn't know the landlord they had been dodging was the daughter they had just assaulted. A week later I saw Brooke at the grocery store. Her cart was overflowing with luxury shampoos and ribeye steaks, while mine was filled with budget pasta. Still playing the martyr? She scoffed, tossing a $50 hair mask into her cart. I'm not playing anything, Brooke, I said calmly. But you might want to start looking for a job. The stage is about to crumble. She laughed, oblivious. Whatever, loser. The eviction notice hit their door the next morning. My mother called from a burner phone, shrieking, "How could you do this? We're family. Where are we supposed to go?" "Ask Brooke," I said. "Maybe she can use some of that lifestyle money to help you. Goodbye, Beatrice." The following month was a blur of peace and preparation. I moved Lily and me into a beautiful, quiet cottage I had purchased with my rental profits. It had lavender bushes and a fence that kept the world out. The final day arrived, 30 days after the notice. I stood across the street from my childhood home. The yard was a graveyard of plastic bags and broken furniture. My father was pacing the porch like a trapped animal. Brooke was nowhere to be found. She'd apparently fled to Miami the moment she realized the money was gone. Lily held my hand tightly as we crossed the street. "I want to see what happens when people get what they deserve," she had told me. My mother rushed down the driveway dragging a suitcase. "Sophia, you can't be serious. You're throwing your own flesh and blood onto the street." I looked at her and for the first time I felt nothing. No guilt. No fear. Just clarity. "I was flesh and blood when you hit me," I said. "Lily was flesh and blood when you terrified her. You weren't a mother then, you were a predator. And I'm done being the prey." My father stomped toward us, his shadow looming over Lily. "You think buying this house makes you powerful? You're an arrogant brat who bought herself a crown." "No," I said, stepping forward until we were chest to chest. "I didn't buy a crown. I bought my freedom. If you touch me or step foot near my daughter again, the police will be here in 3 minutes. Move your trash off my property." He froze. He looked into my eyes and realized the girl he could bully was dead. Lily stepped up beside me, her chin high. "You shouldn't have hurt my mommy," she said, her voice small but piercing. "You lied about love." My mother's lip trembled, but she didn't apologize. "He never would." "You'll regret this," she hissed. "No," I replied, turning my back on them. "I only regret waiting this long." We walked away as the sheriff's deputy arrived to finalize the lockout. I didn't look back at the broken furniture or the broken people. I drove Lily home to our lavender bushes. Sarah, a cousin who still talks to them, told me they're living in a tiny one-bedroom above a defunct nail salon now. Brooke ghosted them the second the bank account ran dry. I didn't reply to the text. I just posted a photo of Lily painting a picture of a sun-filled house. The caption read, "We don't live in fear anymore. And we never will again." If this story stirred something inside you, don't scroll away in silence. Tap like. It tells us these stories deserve to be told. Subscribe to Vengeful Goddess for unforgettable tales of betrayal, resilience, and justice. Stories you won't hear anywhere else. Turn on the bell icon so the next story reaches you the moment it drops. Your support keeps these voices alive. But sometimes, revenge isn't loud, being heard is.